Today's episode is sponsored by Squarespace. Well, here I am once again on my day off reviewing the highly anticipated follow-up to Harman's Phoenix project, which was announced about a year and a half ago. Phoenix the First was an ambitious and one-of-a-kind color film stock from a brand with a long legacy of black and white film stocks, some of them professional and others, well, XP2. The project was ultimately successful for Harman, so they decided to reinvest that money to potentially improve and reduce some of the artifacts present on Phoenix 1. Probably don't need a crash course on it, but hey, let's be dummies for a second here anyway. Phoenix is a film stock characterized by halation, high contrast, low latitude, and of course, grain. Emphasis on coarse. It was Harman's first foray into color. You can't expect it to be perfect, though many people were angry it wasn't. Regardless, it was pretty polarizing. Some photographers are like really into Phoenix, and others not so much. It's kind of like feet in that way. Personally, I had a decent amount of respect for the stock, so much so that I never shot it ever again. Colors were good, but it was the aforementioned halation that kind of did me in. It was too nebulous. It was too dominating of the image, I think. I like a little domination, but usually under different circumstances. So my first question when I got the cold call for Phoenix 2 from a shady unregistered number on a burner phone delivered to me in an unmarked envelope was simply, did Harman finally construct that anti-halation layer of my dreams and do away with what I consider to be the biggest flaw of the stock? I doubt it. I headed out to my nearest garbage disposal to find out. Immediately upon landing and dying of swamp ass, we hit the beach and I loaded some Phoenix the Second, now in a pimpin' blue box with 2 big ass bird scratches. It's definitely giving Monster Energy drink. Anyway, while listening to my ambient beach noises playlist, I power slammed that shit into my point and shoot like a salmon going into the dishwasher. I hadn't really seen many samples at this point, so I was pretty much just going off whatever strengths I could recall from Phoenix 1, mainly that, orange and red looked pretty good. First impressions, other than my, usual obligatory, I think these photos suck, Phoenix 2 is definitely blue and grainy. Bluer than I remember Phoenix 1 being. Perhaps the box is Harman's attempt to leave us a clue. In the dossier that came with these early release rolls of Phoenix, it mentions pretty upfront that this stock was kind of reformulated and rebuilt from the ground up instead of building upon what was already there. And that, yeah, Phoenix 2 has very little in common with its predecessor. To put it poetically though, at the base of the film stock after development is still purpler than a Nurple, and before development, yellower than cat piss, which I think still makes it adequate for, cross-processing and E6 chemicals, but I'm sure Alex or Attic Darkroom will probably do some f***ed up things to it to find out for sure. Otherwise, the skin tones look okay to me. A little jaundicey sometimes, but maybe that's just how I look, I don't know. All these shots were camera scanned and converted with Negative Lab Pro on the Noritsu profile, so do whatever you want with that information, or more likely, do absolutely nothing with it. So the color blue is cool and all, in fact one of the coolest, but what technical improvements are we actually seeing here? Harman has actually been rolling out small, unannounced improvements on Phoenix 1 over the past year, but this is the first, I guess, bigger leap, so what do we got? As we can see in this photo of my super attractive girlfriend who loves ice cream about as much as some people love trains, the biggest improvement by far is that the contrast is better. Still not great, but the film actually has some latitude now and can resolve a little more detail in the highlights and shadows. It is kind of nice to not have to, literally use Negative Lab Pro's flattest profile anymore to get something usable. But with more latitude comes more attitude, which would be a cool saying if it was in any way applicable to the situation here. Or whatever it's worth. I'm not really seeing crazy amounts of halation on any of these shots. It seems under much better control now, and that's groovy. This shot, well, it sucks, but it's also backlit, and I guess I would have thought that the halation here would have been more blown out than a prolapsed sphincter, but it wasn't, and that makes me hopeful. I still don't think this stock has an anti-halation layer though. In this stress test, low light, lots of contrast, we can see that clearly there's some I guess, glowy bounce back around the taillights of these vehicles, and just a lot of shadow detail loss. To be fair, a lot of film stocks would also struggle in this situation, about as much as all the dogs in that neighborhood were struggling with fireworks PTSD that night. Anyway, the sun finally came back out and it was time to shoot some more. If this film stock's strength is blue, why not shoot it at blue hour, the perfect conditions for a blue job? Well, for starters, it's 200 ISO, so it can be a little bit tricky to get enough light for exposure, but yeah, dang, blue hour might kind of be a secret strength for this. I mean, yeah, there's a literal metric float of grain on these shots, but they're beautiful nonetheless. A potential workaround to, I guess, minimize the grain in this case would have been shooting this film stock in 120, which, to Harman's credit, they are actually releasing at the same time as 35mm. This shot itself is incredible, maybe one of the best that I took, but there are a few things to note. I would describe the halation on the Phoenix as more glowy than other film stocks. Cinestill 800T, for example, which basically just goes red and kind of onion ring-like. I don't know, maybe it's just a preference thing. Additionally, I did notice on Phoenix 1 that certain lights, maybe, I don't know, fluorescent lights, they go pretty green in their rendering, and I'm actually glad that that characteristic of the stock wasn't lost here. Other stocks don't really do this as much, or even at all. So it makes Phoenix as a whole more unique and stand out from the rest, in my own opinion. Here's a cool shot that I like of this kid playing alone in the grass, and here's a follow-up of him finally hitting that, magical age where you realize that there may just be more to life than playing in the grass. Like building the website of your dreams with today's sponsor, Squarespace. You've probably heard of the industry-leading Squarespace before, but did you know that it features even more modern-day tools to help you build a website in virtually no time at all? Whether that's in the way of putting together a beautifully formatted portfolio or building an online store to sell your products, Squarespace has you covered with brand new features to make the process far, far simpler. Features like Blueprint AI, a revolutionary new tool that utilizes groundbreaking artificial intelligence to take the reins and build the foundation of your website to save you time and let you focus on the details. If it's a custom route you like to go, Squarespace also features hundreds of professionally designed templates and numerous modules to further customize those templates, so no two websites are ever the same. If it's products or even in-person appointments or sessions you'd like to generate income from, even better. Not only do the Squarespace SEO tools make your website more visible to the masses, but with Acuity scheduling now available through Squarespace, you can book clients and accept payments in just about no time at all. So what are you waiting for? If you're ready to build a website, you can start a free trial today at squarespace.com/grainydays. And if you use the code grainydays at checkout, you can get 10% off your first purchase. What else is there really to say about Phoenix 2? Is it a certified hood classic? It's complicated, I think. Phoenix is now a much more usable film stock in my opinion. It's a little reminiscent of Kodak Gold. Obviously, still not quite the same in direct comparison, but if Kodak Gold is Dr. Pepper, then Phoenix is, I don't know, Dr. Perky. And you know what? That's okay, because some people really like Dr. Perky. Not me or you probably, but some people. I guess the thing with all this is I would have liked to see a bigger leap for this iteration of Phoenix, and yeah, I guess I don't really mind waiting some time for the next version if it can provide more. If the stock's latitude is what they really wanted to focus on improving, I think they should have held the release until it was in a far better place. It is improved, for sure, but it's still, unfortunately, not the most flexible, and it continues to be important to get the exposure right on this film stock. The grain is still a bit taxing at times. For better or for worse, the halation is still present. 200 ISO is good, but I'd like to see a higher ISO personally. And finally, if I'm being honest, I don't much care for how blue this thing leans. But, you know, I do understand, and I hope you, the community, understand as well. Making a color film from scratch is not easy. It's not like making a margarita or something, though I'm sure tequila is involved somehow. I believe I was told that this film stock has 10 layers, which is quite complex. For reference, a professional line film stock like Portra 160 has, I think, 16 layers, but as any film photographer will convince you, it's not about the size of your layer stack. It's about how you use it. Building a color film stock takes a ton of experimentation, time, money, resources, intelligent people, and research. And I'm glad there's a company out there putting their best minds on it. But with this release and the subsequent releases that we've seen from Harman over the interim, I do kind of feel like we're not really getting anything of monumental improvement yet. I mean, to be frank, was anyone out there really begging for Red Scale or Kentmere 200? Can we not just focus on Phoenix for now? It's one of the most interesting projects in the film community in a long time. Maybe Phoenix 2 is not really for me at the end of the day, but it's a project worth supporting because it's only getting better. In fact, I've been told that they've already made some improvements to it internally. I'm obviously still very excited to see what Harman does with Phoenix next. And I still think that we should absolutely support a company that is actually putting boots on the ground and doing new and experimental things, unlike literally any of their competitors who seem to have fallen asleep on their laurels. So I guess what I'm saying at the end of the day is get out there and see what you can do with Phoenix 2. Ayo. I think my dishwasher salmon's done.